Yes, ma'am.
So our thoughts for today, we're going to talk about who's at the door. So for those of you that come by for your bi-weekly checkup, tell me what you all think who's at the door is going to be about. Right? What does that have to do with resiliency? And because resiliency is something that really changes who we are in essence if we give it, if we feed it and we give it, if we nurture it and we give it the time and the energy that it deserves. But today we're going to talk about you versus you when it's talking about who's at the door, you versus the world, you versus friends and family, because you know we got some friends and family that we like, don't open the door. Right? Opportunities, gifts, distractions, frustrations, all the different things that can come at the door, and it still gives us the opportunity to either open it or keep it closed. Also talking about the criminals, because criminals, you know, smooth operators, they like to come through and they end up being a criminal one way or another, whether that be on the opportunity to take from you, which we'll talk about that later. So usually when we think who's at the door, most Americans assume it's the front door. But there's many doors in our lives, right? And what we really wanted to take the time out tonight to say, when you're looking at the different types of doors in your life, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Do you say the front door is my main door, so that's the one that I protect the most? Is it the garage door because that's the one that you come in? Is it the back door because it's not as much traffic so they can't see who's in the backyard? Whatever door is important to you in your life, of course you're going to take the opportunity to protect it. So whenever you think about never getting up to open that particular door. So if you have the opportunity to close the door, somebody come knocking at the door, you like, no call, no show, I'm not getting up and answering that door. How does that affect your, right, either your blessings or it could be a blessing in disguise, or you're actual missing out on some type of negative energy, right? And what or who is on the other side? What happens if that person or that thing is not invited, but it finds its way at your doorstep? And we've seen that, right? It can be bundled up. When I think about back in the day when they said that you used to drop off babies on the doorstep, and it's in this cute little bundle, but you're like, what's coming along with it, right? You don't know if it's a blessing or a curse. And there's a lot of ways that we could get things put on our doorstep or at the forefront of our doorways. And it's still up to us to make that determination on if we're willing to open the door, or if we're going to continue to let it stay shut and say that today's not the day and tomorrow might not be either. I'm going out a different door to avoid it. And there's sometimes that we have to avoid certain situations in our lives. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing, in my opinion, right? Because if you're avoiding it, either you already know I've been down that road, and I'm going down it again, right? And if we go down that road again, how does that impact not just us, but those who we are responsible to and for?
True.
We got children, we got family, we have co-workers, we have different areas in our lives that are important. And it is up to you if you're thinking about security, right, or secure areas. You don't just open the door for somebody they don't have the proper identification, the proper credentials. They can't get in that, right?
Well, that's rule number one, right? So, everybody at the door don't got a key. It don't matter who's knocking at the door. And one of the things that has struck me most is how constrained our view is based on our environment. So one of the comments you made was, as U.S. citizens, why limit it there, right? This is a global world. One of the biggest changes for me coming out the city was being able to travel. And once I went outside this country and visited and saw how different nationalities ate, how they viewed me, how they looked at me, it just gave me a different perspective. It was a lot of appreciation just for my presence versus, being back home in the States. Going back to everybody who at the door ain't got a key. Some people just knock on your door and they expect your time either through friendship or family, but they don't appreciate you. And so I would say that's probably one of the biggest things for me is being able to travel the world and come back home and really identify who appreciates my time and my presence. And that really kind of shaped my future on who I allow my circle. Right. So, the ones that they say the ones that look like you the most is the one that hate you the most. I don't necessarily buy that, but I'm definitely conscious of it. I surround myself with nothing but brothers, strong men, same thing, intelligent women, because I know that community that I build is going to be the community that affects and impacts my children. So, I'm looking at it, 4 or 5 degrees into it to make sure that, whoever's at my door, if you have my door and you don't pray for me, you ain't crossing my threshold. It's just simple principles like that makes all the difference in the quality of people that you keep around you.
I agree. And I was just thinking whenever I see all of the different qualifications and all of the things that you have earned over the years that sit behind you as a representation of who you are, at some point you had to go through a door that they may not have wanted you to be there, or you had to make sure that you had a seat at the table, right? And sometimes the door is closed, and if you're knocking, sometimes you have the right key. They don't know that the lock's been checked. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Now they have to respect the Dr. Gregory Smoots rather than the Mr. Gregory Smoots that they knew of, right? And that's why I think that even in this essence, right, being from Flint and having people to look at you and they say, you doing that? Really? Wait. It's automatically but you from Flint. I drank the water. I took a bath in it. I made it.
Right. One more water joke is going in somebody's throat, right?
So I have to be honest, I am very paranoid, right? So then I have cameras in the front of the house, in the back of the house, on the doorbell, right? I have cameras throughout the house because I'm a single woman that live alone, right? And so the idea of having a camera is another, in essence, another way of protection, another security measure. So before you get through that door, if I don't see it, the camera's going to see it, right? There's going to be something or someone that will see you before you're allowed to cross over that threshold of the doorway. And I don't want, because I don't want just anyone in my home, because when people come, usually they bring on whatever spirits and energies are attached to them too. You have to be very mindful. And my thought process was, if I was married, I'm not just going to bring any woman to my house, right? Just like I wouldn't expect my husband to bring any man to the house, because we don't know what their intentions are. It might be, oh, they're friendly. But you still have to be mindful who you allow to cross through your threshold, because now you have invited someone or something that may be envious or jealous or what have you. Or it could be someone that is positive, and you're like, I think I needed that in the house. I'm glad that you were able to kind of bring that to the forefront. And I think with your educational background, that shows, as a male, but this also as a Black male, it really shows that, man, sometimes the education, where people probably would not have respected you as much, but your education, your knowledge, your hard work, your dedication, your ethical background has proven, right, that you are the one that should have the keys to go into whatever doorway you feel that is in respect to your talents and your skills.
Oh, yeah.
And I think a lot of us forget that we have those.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's not, so what's behind me, it's not a reflection of just me, right? One of the things I like to say is my team, right? So it's the brothers that stand left to me, right of me. It's the ones that truly know me, that pull me from negative situations, or the ones that build me up. Like, it's so many solid dudes that's, in my corner that I know. We ain't out there on social media a lot, but just in passing on Sundays, we get up and, hang with the fellas who run around. We play a little ball, or we watch the game, taking care of the kids. And even past that, like, just the family support is huge. Like, a lot of my motivation for my education was really simply just to give my grandmother her first college graduate, right? To give my mother something to smile about. My mother didn't quite understand why I kept graduating. It didn't matter because she kept smiling. And I told her, I said, well, as long as you keep smiling, I'm going to keep graduating. She didn't know the extent of the level that I reached, but she appreciated it. It was a great time. And it's really a symbol of my support system that really was able to get me to this point. And now that I'm knocking down doors, it's really about bringing my brothers to the left and my right, and those young ones underneath me up, so they can walk through that door. One of my favorite sayings is, I'm building my dreams with elevators in it, right? So don't work so hard. Let me knock some of this down for the next generation, so y'all can come in and take it even higher than what I did, right? Just an appreciation.
Right. I just think that is so amazing. Just watching, over the last 13 years, every time I look up, you got a different degree, you graduating, you got so many accolades that people can appreciate you. And so I just wanted to really, I was honored that you even thought to say, hey, I would love to be on the show. And I was like,
I see what you're doing. I see you, Queen. I gotta support. It's our mentality coming out of Flint. One make it, we all make it. So, however I can support you. You're doing your thing.
I appreciate you.
Yeah.
So with that, also, we were talking about the cameras and stuff. So I watch a lot of murder mysteries. Y'all don't judge me. I watch a lot of murder mysteries.
Don't.
Right? So when you hear a knock at the door, you like, they coming to get me. Probably feeds into my paranoia.
Right.
But usually when somebody knocks at the door, what's the next phrase that come out your mouth? Who is it?
Right.
Who's there? Right? Something's out of that, right? Because you like, even if somebody tell you that they coming, when you hear the knock at the door, you automatically like, well, let me make sure it's who I thought was coming, right?
Yeah. You gotta set the conditions, though.
All of a sudden, from next door, when you thought it was your homeboy or whatever.
Right. You just gotta set the conditions. Don't nobody come knocking on your door that you don't know is coming, and ain't nobody knocking on your door with no stupidness or no negativity. Like, once you set the conditions, I mean, people won't approach you. All that negativity goes away. Energy is everything, so it is what it is.
I think because of that, I know that some people are keen to opening doors without looking. They hear somebody knock, they open the door. I'm like, maybe it's me. I don't know if it's a culture thing. I don't know if it is. I don't know. I don't know if it's a Southern thing, but we don't open doors without acknowledging or knowing who is on the other side of it, right? And it's most parents, I mean, you have children, so most parents take the time out to teach their children. It doesn't matter who's knocking at the door, even if you think you know who they are, and you still a password. You got to have extra perimeters, right? And that made me think about what are we teaching our children versus what are we teaching ourselves? Because usually some people, they become adults and they feel like, oh, well, I don't have to really know who's at the door. If they at my door, then I'm just going to handle it when I get there.
Right.
Because there's some places in life that we are missing out or that we are neglecting, and that we could have prevented, and we do it simply because it's my house, so they ain't gonna come and run up on my house. Ooh, that's a problem, right? Now we're missing out on the opportunity to protect our spirit, protect our energy, protect our children, protect our environment from being taken advantage of. And so who's at the door really was an opportunity to kind of sit back and reevaluate who's at our various doors in our lives, right? If it's relationship, if it's raising children, if it's business, if it's self-growth, what door and whoever is on the other side or whatever is on the other side, how are we approaching it? And are we approaching it with caution? Are we approaching it with knowledge? How are we approaching it is my big thing, right? And because right now, go ahead.
So with that, right, and I like it. I like the concept. I like where you're going. As raising young children, young minds, right, young humans, it's beyond the brick and mortar of the door, right? It's a virtual door too, like social media. My children come to me with so many different things and friends, and I'm like, okay, so now I got to go through the digital trail of who this person really is. Is they truly a person that they know? And that in itself is a challenge. But getting back to just the physical brick and mortar door, you have to really, another thing I love to say, judge a man by his principles, right? So people that come around you, nobody's perfect. So you're always going to make mistakes. And for me, I'd rather make a mistake sooner versus later. So that way I can learn how to improve.
Right.
And so when people come around, and if they've been around long enough, you notice a consistency. That consistency is their principles, right? So, we've been knowing each other over 10 years now, and you've been consistently positive. You've always been going. You've always been growing. You've always taken on whatever challenges you have, and you excel, right? Hence your platform, Resilient Conversations. And, principally, this is why, I look to you without question. Like, hey, yeah, she's solid. And not just you as a woman, but that's how I look at all my relationships. Just, principles, how do you move? What decisions are you making? Where are you growing? Because one thing about it is you share it, right? So some relationships ain't meant to go with you. Some is meant just for that moment. And learning that concept is some people are there for a moment to help you get through whatever. And some people are going to be with you for the long run to help you get to that destination. And that struck me hard for family, right? So, it was family that I didn't even question. I did whatever just because they were Smoots. All right, no questions asked. But then as you start to grow and you become better, those individuals want to bring you back to the mindset or the perception that they have of you, not the growth of
And
you.
there it is.
So
Right.
when you talk about those different doors and who you should let in, I was making mistakes because you was family, I let you in. And I had to learn through a lot of pain and consequence that, no matter who you are, if you're at my door and you're coming in, then you got to have an appreciation, not just for who I am or who I was. That's one of the criteria that I recommend to everybody. Like, you can make new family. I learned that the hard way. Like, blood, blood is blood. But sometimes a lot of a lot of the family that I have today are not my not my blood family. They just consistent. They love me, and it's no question. They go off on me, and I return it, and we ain't even blood. So that to me is probably bigger in how you're choosing which door to open and who to let in is how much love they really have for you. If you accomplish something, how big do they smile, right? So are they truly supporting you, or are they just looking at you, just nodding their head like, okay, or taking from you?
Right.
You might be elevating them.
Yeah, it is.
They might be weighing you down, but because they family or because they always been there, you keep carrying them. At some point, you got to shed. So, just
Right.
little thoughts.
When you into, the next 2 weeks from now, the next topic, you jumped on in there. That's right on time.
Oh yeah, you got to have advanced thoughts.
Yes. Look at that. So we were talking about the devices, right? We have different devices that came into play. Now we got cameras inside, cameras outside. Any and everybody can have one. If you don't got one, your neighbor got one. Everybody got some type of device that has a camera. You get notifications all throughout the day when a mailman drop off your package. You want to see if somebody's stealing your package. All of those things, right?
Right.
What kind of inventions do you think offer some type of assistance in reference to resilience? So we talked about the camera. What would the camera be a representative of when you're thinking about resiliency?
So that's a great question.
And that's not just for Mr. Smoots, for Dr. But y'all can go ahead and put it in the chat too. What do y'all think the camera is a representation of?
I'm supposed to be looking at the chat. Oh. What's up, cousin? Love you too, boo. I would say the camera. I don't know. So the camera doesn't work for me, right? Because people can present all day long. So the camera philosophy doesn't work for me because I tend to look through people. I don't care what you're saying. I don't care how you presenting. I'm focused on your energy because energy doesn't lie. And your consistency, right? So, I got the Ring doorbell like everybody else. Outside of, somebody delivering my packages, ain't nobody really knocking at my door. Everybody who's coming to my house, those conditions were set, months and days and years ago. So the camera, I wouldn't know what to offer from that lens, right? Because you can never judge a book by its cover. So I wouldn't recommend using the camera philosophy. That's just me.
Okay, so Ebony said that it's like your conscious, right? Your third eye. Oh. So usually, like you said, you can see through people, right? There are some times that you use it and you're like, oh, I already see. They already got something sneaky. They looking around. Like, no, I ain't going to no door. I don't even know you. Or even if you are family, but you looking suspect, because we all know some families set up people, right? Yeah. You like, nah, you gonna stay right where you at, right? Your conscience is like what Emily's saying there gives you to be like, something ain't right. Like I can see you before I see you. We good, right? And I think Usually, like if I'm in the house relaxing, and then usually everything in the house says motion at the door. I don't do nothing but sit back, look at it, and then he'll show me who at the door. If I don't feel like getting up, I turn right back over in the bed. Like it doesn't require any energy from me. Right? Because I see that it's not important enough for me to stop what I'm doing to make a move. And I think sometimes we do need that glimpse or that snapshot of who a person is, what a person is about, where they're trying to go, right? That's kind of like what the peephole is too. It gives you a snapshot of who was on the other side. You're like, that's somebody that's trying to sell me something. That's somebody trying to get something, right? Snapshot.
Use that third eye. I mean, that's one of the things we as a people need to get back to, right? So that is a real thing. Use that third eye. I mean, not the awoke things or all this other stuff, but that third eye to sense energy and sense like your subconscious, like just something ain't right. If somebody come around you and you just feel in your soul like this person, like trust your eye, like trust your judgment. Your brain is more complex and powerful than what you know. Use it.
Right. Because somebody on Instagram can say the camera can give you a person's representative. And that's usually who comes to the door as a representative. When people come to sell stuff, when they was doing that door-to-door selling, vacuums and all that stuff,
vacuums? They came in your door selling vacuums? Girl, you is not that, stop playing.
Yeah, I bought one. I got a vacuum that I bought. Don't tell nobody how old I am, Dr.
Yeah, I don't know what part of Flint they're selling vacuums at the door, but I don't remember them. Ain't nobody knocked on my door selling vacuums in Flint.
So thank y'all so much for chiming in. It really is important to see y'all really get in, so that we know if we're going down the right direction. If y'all got questions, we want to make sure we answer them, right? I know I'm getting ready to dig into Dr. Smoots' bedtime, so I ain't gonna hold you too much longer.
We in that great window after 9 o'clock, 9:30. 5 o'clock come early.
With children, like I said before, they have to know a password. Also, the people that we are allowing to cross over should have some type of password to really be able to retrieve from our energy, or to take up our time, or to take up our knowledge or our skills, right? And we have to be like, do you know what the password is, whether that be a actual literal password, so to speak, or an emotional, a mental, a spiritual password for me to really give into you and to really accept you and allow you into my space. And I say that because with me having fibromyalgia, right, I'm already drained at the end of the day. So for me to take on additional stress is only going to make my fibromyalgia flare up worse. So I have to be able to now create boundaries to protect myself. I don't have any more energy to give out to people. And I have to say, I would love to, but not today.
Yeah.
Right? And then you have to be able to say, my password is, Quita is going to stay home today. Quita is not going to talk on the phone today. Quita is not going, because I have to figure out what doors to open and what doors to remain closed, or what door to close, because sometimes the door was open for a particular reason or season or lifetime, like what we talked about at the beginning, and now all of a sudden that chapter has closed, right? I am just now getting to the point where I started blocking people. The last 6 months to a year, I'm like, block.
Don't block them though.
Ebony,
don't block them.
My best friend Ebony will tell you, she be like, block them. Block them. They don't need to be on your
level. Why block them though?
Right.
I mean, we're mature enough, right? So
I need to know who called it.
But why block them?
Deal, right?
Just don't respond to them. Let's pull on this thought, right? Because the blocking thing, I've never done that. I don't block nobody. Just show them how mature you are by not responding. Like, you can coexist with anybody. You're just not giving them the power, All right, so I don't block them. Continue to shine, continue to grow. Let them see you grow. And guess what? When you're doing what you're supposed to do, you're going to motivate them to grow. But if you block them, they can't see it. They always going to have this type of resonant negativity towards you. Like, be you. Don't block them. Let them watch her shine, and you may eventually help them shine, and that's going to alleviate all your negativity that they're bringing towards you. Don't block them. Shine.
And you know why I think I started to block people is because I was still letting them shine, but they were still finding a way to still cause harm. So on the thought process of sunscreen, right? Sunscreen, I like the sun. I like it to come in, but now all of a sudden the sun is causing harmful rays. If I don't do what I need to do to protect myself from those rays, hey,
well,
right? I'm at fault for whatever the effects of it, because I didn't protect myself. So now I have to, in a sense, if the energy that they're giving off, when I see it, even via text, is still too much for me, then I have to figure out what door do I need to close, whether it's closed for now or closed eternally, if they are there for a reason, a season, for a lifetime. After that reason, there is no longer time for you to still be a part of my world, right? Okay. And this is what I'm saying, for this year, that's new. Because I'm like, if you give them the opportunity to call, even if you don't answer now, you still vexed in your spirit, like, here they go. They done called 25 times in the last 5 minutes. It's too, and it's taking too much out of me to be like,
yeah. So I like the way you wrap that up, right? Because I wasn't following the sun analogy, because, you know, just melanin, I eat the sun. I love the sun. I ain't putting on no sunblock, right? So I like the way you wrap that up, because some people don't respect boundaries, right? So if somebody's calling you repeatedly, then yeah, I can definitely agree with blocking that person's number, because it's your phone constantly gonna buzz and all this other stuff. It's a detractor. But if you just tell this person, like, you know, all right, we cool, I'm not dealing with you, I wouldn't block them from social media or block their phone number. But if they putting extra energy to overcome your boundaries, then yeah, you gotta reinforce your boundaries and let them know. So I like the way you put that.
Right. Yes. And Ebony is, because of course it's my bestie, so she knows. Because I am an empath, like she said, I have to be able to block certain things being an empath. Because I take on everybody else's energy. I'm sorry?
What you say, you're an empath?
Empath. Yes, so an empath usually picks up on other people's energy. So I am empathetic. I'll take on everything else that's making you hurt, and I'll say, let me help you, let me fix it. However, when I need that same help or that same unloading, I don't have that opportunity, or I don't have someone that I can do that with. So then I have to say, I want to help, but now this is only so much I can help with, because now you are draining 80% of my time and energy, and the 20% I have left is what I still have to live off of. So if they're taking 80% of my time, 80% of my energy, 80% of my emotions, 80% of my spiritual growth, you too expensive for me. I can't afford you.
Right.
Right? So who's at the door? You too expensive. Sorry, I don't want that.
Right. If it's costing you your time, definitely it's too expensive. Right. If you're spending time,
right.
And I mean, you're a woman, so naturally you're a nurturer. That's just, especially a Black woman. This is what you have innately inside you naturally. And so being an empath and being a natural nurturer, where you're taking on this energy, don't change. You just have to know your environment and place yourself around people who will replenish you to make sure your energy is full. That's one of the things I personally learned in life is don't change who you are, because it takes so much more energy not to be you naturally. But if you just change who you're around and be yourself then your energy, your balance will stay consistent no matter what. So be a nurturer, be an empath, take on that energy, but just find yourself to where the environment you're in is replenishing you, right? It's good. Like my children, they drain me every day. But I wake up, I meditate, drink water, I keep good brothers around me, quality sisters, and it's a balance. And I feed into them, they feed into me, and I don't have to change who I am, and that gives me more capacity to grow to that next level. So I just offer that to you and your audience. Just be you naturally. Just take it one step further, the third and fourth separations of degree, and make sure that the people that's in your circle is feeding you. Y'all ain't got to be doing the same thing, but they can just replenish the energy that you are exerting throughout the day. And so when you come back the next day, it's nothing but smiles, nothing but love and affection.
Right. I think that because we are so used to pouring into people that have come to the door, because we're like, but they're here. They're at the door. They need me. Let me have. And then next thing you know, you're like, I'm tired.
I mean, that's a natural humanistic thing, right? People will take as much as they can as long as they can. And that's parasitic, right? So you have to identify that, and it's okay, but you also got to find those parallel relationships as well. So yeah, definitely. Yeah, people will naturally drain you and show up the next day and drain you again, and then turn to you and be like, "Why are you acting like that? Like, man, you didn't drain me of all my energy. Get from around me, right? Or pour back into my cup."
Right, right. And I think when I was doing my research, I was laughing because I was like, as much as I love Silk Sonic, I don't agree with you this time. I'm not leaving no door open. Not to leave you open to whatever, whoever is coming through the door. That parasitic environment, that parasitic person, that positive person that you probably wouldn't have known had your door not been open. But I ain't ready to take that chance. Like, yeah, I can't leave the door wide open for you.
Right.
That is just subjecting me to too many other things. That is putting my spirit, my mental, my emotional into too many different avenues I wasn't ready for. So in order to protect my energy, to protect my shine, and protect my growth, there's times I'm close that door behind you when you leave. Don't look back.
So that's a great point. So let's put this out there. Do you change your perspective or criteria based on gender, man or woman, or do you keep that same criteria or decision for who you allow to come into your life, barring your significant other?
Oh, it doesn't matter if it's male, female, older, younger, brother, sister, cousin, nephew, niece, nephew, whatever. Because with family, now I can only speak for me, but with family there's times where you like, you gotta close some doors. Right? That's gonna put you at an uncomfortable place. Now you gotta go back and forth on your mental, emotional journey. Now it's taking you 10 steps back when you thought you was moving forward, because now they got this crab mentality that's pulling you down because of who they thought you were, or who they expect you to be, right? And because of that, I was like, man, even Teddy Pendergrass said, close the door. He said, close the door, you ain't gotta worry no more.
Okay. I got you. Okay, sis, you don't work the Teddy Pendergrass quote into this conversation. Okay. I see you.
So I'm like, it's going to be time when you got to close that door. I said, if Teddy said it, then I'm rocking with it.
Okay, I see you.
So I think that in response to relationships, like your relationships could be family, it could be work, it could be business. Our relationships, sometimes whenever you're trying to go to the next level, there are some doors that you might leave cracked. Right? You like, maybe all of y'all don't got to be out, but maybe I'm going to leave it open for you. You're the only person I know that it's open, though. It looks closed to the outside until you come up on the door, and it's actually right there, right before it's closed. Nobody else knew that but that person that you wanted to have in your life or to have access to you. So you know how the door is pulled to like it's getting ready to be closed, but it's not closed. Far enough away, they like, oh, the door closed. Hey. But the person that's going to be like, oh, the door's open. Tap, tap. You like, come in. They like, oh. You got to know, right? You don't know unless you take the opportunity, right? If I had never spoken to you and you didn't say, you know what, I love to do it, I might have been like, Dr. Gregory Smoots, he worried about coming on your show. But then it was like, no, I would love to. I was like, oh, okay, all right. So I would have thought the door was closed because of your knowledge and your skills and all of the things that you had accomplished. So in reference to that, and you were like, no, just come on in, I got you. I love to do it.
All right.
Okay. All right. Right.
My kids.
And when now we split kids, split stones. That's what happened. I think it's healthy. It is normal, and it's worthwhile to take that chance sometimes to leave the door not necessarily open, but not all the way closed to. Because those that need to know are going to be the ones that get close enough to say, oh, it's not closed, so maybe the opportunities are still there, right? And I think it's worth the time to differentiate between constructive criticism or if it's draining, if it's filling, if it's peaceful, if it's stressful, if it's right, toxic, healthy, whatever the fill in the blank is. It's still worth the time to say, but then you still have to use the devices or the inventions that were set before you, the peephole, the curtain from upstairs, whatever, utilizing your resources to make sure if this is someone that you want to invite into your realm.
Not the curtains.
So what about, you already know, you'd be like, shh, everybody see the eyes.
Not the curtains.
Run upstairs, girl, who caused that?
Mm-hmm.
I think that even Erykah Badu said, right? I'm an artist and I'm sensitive about my...
Look,
right?
I'm telling you.
Right? Your life, I'm sensitive because I'm an artist, so my life is my art. Who I am, my personality, that's my art. So if I'm sensitive about it, then if you can't appreciate my work, that's what it is. You can't appreciate who I am. You can't appreciate the skills or what I provide. Then I'm too expensive for you.
Yeah. Stage
left.
Yeah.
Right? And that is just like I'm saying, you got to know who your worth or what your worth is to other people. It doesn't matter. If they don't understand it at the same level you're at, thank you and keep it moving.
Yeah.
Right? It's the thoughts, things, people, the emotions, it's your intimate relationships. If you are not ready to love on the same level, for example, because you and I have talked about this extensively, if you are ready to be married, but the woman that you're dating is not ready to be married, you're like, keep it moving, right? Yeah. And I'm like, if I'm not worthy of being a wife, I shouldn't be worthy to be the mother of your child. There should be more to it than that. Right? Oh. At 38, almost 39 years old, I have children because I'm like, if I'm not worth being your wife, I shouldn't be worthy enough to just be. And that's where we stop.
Hey, look, so it's close to my bedtime. We about to check out.
That way. This one do. I was like, I should be enough to have my last name changed before I be popping out kids. If not, then this right here is going to stay right where it's at.
That's true. You did the right thing, sis.
And because resiliency requires a level of critical thinking. And I think that's where, for me, the resiliency plays a part. Critical thinking is not as abundant as it used to be, right? To move on to the next level, next phase, next minute, next hour, next week, it requires a level of critical thinking. And it has to be nurtured. It has to be exercised. It has to be utilized in a way that is going to help you grow and elevate. And if we don't take the time to do that, just like they say, everybody's grass is green on the other side. It's whatever you feed it, whatever you feed into, right? Like, are you feeding into yourself and growing and critically thinking on what is going to be best for your energy? If you realize that you're drained, are you learning how to replenish that? Are you learning to set boundaries? Whatever it is that you are feeding in order to grow your resiliency, grow your critical thinking, then that's what you have to do. And I think, okay, did you watch Star Trek?
Nah, not a Trekkie.
I wasn't either, but I do remember that they used to have like it was supposed to be like a galactic barrier or something. It was like this pink purple hue, and I was like, oh, that's cute, because you know I like pinks and purples because I'm a girl. And so I was like, okay, but what is that galactic pink purple hue? It was a representation of a negative energy. However, they called it the Great Barrier. Right? So in this example, the Great Barrier would be the door. And so with the door and the Great Barrier, they had to go through the negativity. They had to pass through that negative energy, right, in order for it to change their thought process. So once they passed through the Great Barrier, they ended up with ESP. So now they have this extra sensory perception. So now they're able to pick up on things before things happen. And I say that to say, if we had never gone through anything negative or anything that was challenging, would our sensory had that extra sensory perception have been able to say, I've seen that before. I done felt that before. Let's not go down that road again, right? Those are the experiences and the lessons that we have to learn. We got to get through the Great Barrier and those doorways that we thought, this is good, I'm good, I'm going to walk through it. You get through it, you like, this chick right here, this dude right here, I can't do it. Right. But at the end, that extrasensory perception has gained something on such a greater level that you wouldn't have known it had you not gone through it.
That's true. I mean,
I was like, oh, but it's pretty.
Yeah.
How many times have you seen a fine chick and you be like, yeah, she mine, and then you all of a sudden you're like, she crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. So at this age and stage, yes. Hey, what they say, never trust the big butt and the smile. Yeah, poison. But I want to go back to something you brought. Right, you talked about critical thinking, right? And I think one of your audience members spoke of your third eye. So the reason why critical thinking, I think it still exists today, but what's missing is the decision, right? So you have the ability to critically think, and you have the ability to kind of have a sense, an extra sense within your third eye. But then making the decision consistently is where we struggle, right? Because we get caught up in society and what people give us as value. And one example of that, right, is when I was coming up, I always wanted the Escalade truck, right? Always wanted the Escalade truck. Went and got it, and I still felt the same. So I'm like, why do I want this truck so bad? Why did I drop this money on it? But I placed the value on it because everybody else around me placed the value on it. But to me, once I actually obtained it, it didn't mean nothing to me. And so when you take that level of critical thinking and you use your third eye or your spirit, your energy, whatever you want to call it, applying that knowledge of your experience is the next step for us as a people, as a whole. I think the comment you made is you see a pretty girl and you want to chase her. You see a handsome dude and you want to talk to him. After so much experience, you're going to recognize that it don't matter how fine they are. If they don't have principles, morals, the right value system, goals, it's temporary. And temporary is cool, but you can't allow your investments to go into temporary things. You got to allow your investments of your time and your energy into stuff that grows yourself and the people you surround yourself with, the people at your door, right? So
right.
That's my 2 cents. Look.
So celebrating the meaning of closed and open doors. Today was the perfect day for an open door discussion, right? And that's what we had here. We had the opportunity to open the door because I think it was Alexander Graham Bell said, when one door is shut, another door opens, yes. Right? And so the opportunity to close the door for you to look somewhere else and not open another door. And then if that's the case, then go out the window, right? Right. Sometimes we got to make what used to be a wall become a doorway, right? And when at the beginning I talked about the you versus you. So then when you versus you was at the door, who you were last month, last week, last year, versus who you are today. You should be two different people.
True.
Right? And sometimes you got to close the door on the old you, because I was like, old Quita was out there at the club in the street, cutting the food, right? And then now the difference is, what you had thought that the Quita now would have been the person 12 years ago. Of course not, because it was a whole different Quita. And it was a whole different mentality and thought process. And so it had to have some growing spells, right? And so now I say, my biggest competition is me. So now my thought process is, let me try and change how these young girls are viewing their bodies and themselves and where they're putting their value at. Because I ain't even going to dive into that, but it's coming from the culture and what they're listening to, what they're seeing, right? And so the you versus you, the you versus the world are the people that you don't know, are the things that you don't see. So now they're battling the music that they listen to, the things they see on TV, the things that everybody else is telling them is good. Now you're battling against that to figure out, is that the door I need to go out of? Is that the door I need to close? It's unfamiliar, right? The you versus family and friends is some family and friends. You like, how am I still rocking with you? Like, what is it about you? It's like sauerkraut on a good sandwich. Like, you just messed that up.
That you versus you, that's monumental, right? So once you figure out how to get out your own way, then the sky's the limit, right? It don't matter who acknowledges you, who doesn't acknowledge you. It don't matter who your family is, they show up this day or not. Once you know how to square up on you and you can handle yourself, at least for me, right? I was my biggest problem. You talked about, the clubs back in the day. Yeah, we did that. We did that hard, right? That's why I don't go to the clubs now. I'm like, ain't nothing good coming out of that, right? And once you figure out how to verse yourself, 1v1 yourself, as my sons like to say, it just takes you to another level of greatness, another level of capacity, because now it really don't matter what occurs. If you wake up every day and you're better than what you was yesterday, principles, right?
You're still winning.
Nothing else matters, and you'll be so far down the road. It'll be, that you versus you is monumental. I tell everybody, don't worry about what nobody else thinks, says, what value systems they place. You versus you, because at the end of the day, no materialistic thing we're going to take, no matter how much money you make, it's going to come down to your time, how you invested it, how you're loved, and what you brought out was, I've experienced these things, I've learned these things, how can I pass this on? For you, you mentioned the little girls. For me, I'm looking at my sons and all the boys around them, as well as my brothers to my left, my brothers to the right. We have so many good conversations about investments, which why maybe bring up the Cadillac, right? You know how much money I dropped on that Cadillac? But if I'd have bought Google or Amazon, investments, right? But I didn't know that then. But now, because
Right.
of the quality of company that I keep and we have those discussions, I'm able to pass that on to my children and their children.
Mm-hmm.
And now our children are having conversations about that. And to me,
Right.
that's more powerful than any type of music people put out, any type of movies people put out. If you pour into your children and your community and start with yourself, sky's the limit. We all
Right.
winning.
I agree. Right. If you win, I'm winning. Because we on the same path,
That's
right?
that Flint mentality.
Um,
You make it, we all make
there it
it.
is, that mentality, that maturity right there, huh? And I like how you was talking about the opportunity. So the opportunity to help others, right? So it's you versus opportunity. Now, are you taking the opportunity to get out and speak to the young men, speak to the young women? Are you getting out there and talking to stale environment versus new experiences, right? Staying comfortable is not really going to help you or the environment or those that are in the community to grow. You got to sometimes step out of your comfort zone in order to get where you need to be, right? So kind of going back to that Star Trek thing, is your comfort zone was to be able to just go right there, right? You'd be like, but that's the barrier. It's supposed to be negative. But in order for you to get that extra sensory perception, you got to go through that negative, that hard time, because now that is a part of your story.
Right.
Yeah, that story had to happen so you can have the glory days on the other side, right? Yeah. I ain't gonna preach, y'all. I know.
Look, you gotta be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Go ahead.
You gotta be comfortable being uncomfortable. Hey,
right.
You know,
because otherwise you don't want to fail.
I'm telling you, like nothing happens if nothing happens. You gotta get out there and be uncomfortable. You gotta be willing to take that risk, but do it wisely. Understand what your goals are,
right.
and make calculated decisions. Right, going back to critical thinking. I think we, especially as Black people, melanated people, we have it. We have an intelligence that's so powerful and so great. And we just, I mean, we built the pyramids, we built science, we did astronomy, like we did all these great things. I mean, but now we reduced to what? Hooping and making music and playing ball. Like, it's so, it's such a high level of critical thinking, analytics, and decision making that we can accomplish. Yeah, that barrier, purple, whatever. Yeah, we can do that all day long and take
important.
us to a whole new level.
Right. The one I was just talking about before that was talking about you versus the distractions, the heartaches, the frustrations. I mean, you like, but I'm better than this. Why do I still have to go through this? Going back to that, you got to go through it in order for you to know, right? When I think about also the door, when it comes to the distractions, the heartaches, the frustration, the things that affect you, the things that affect your thinking, the things that can affect your children. You know, the door that has the little circle, like if you're going into one of them hotels, but you got to keep pushing the door, and it has multiple places for people to walk in. So you have to push the door, but you're right here, and then it's like a clear door, and then right here is another space for somebody else to walk behind. I forgot what it's called. A rotating door. A revolving door. That's it. So then I'm like, it's the door that turns around.
Gotcha.
And I feel like that is me versus the heartaches, the distractions, the frustrations, right? I'm like, but I'm good. I'm getting through the door, but I feel like it's right there behind me or right there in front of me. But I have to keep pushing until I can get past it, even if it's trying to chase me, even if it's trying to be ahead of me and say, but I'm going to be waiting for you when you get out. I ain't worried about that. What I'm worried about is pushing through that door to where I can get on the other side of it. I'll worry about dealing with that challenge, that frustration once I get there, right? And I think that when we're talking about the distractions, all the different things that hurt us or frustrate us, it's easy to be like, I don't want to deal with it. You can't run from it. It's like I said, we're right with that revolving door. It's either going to be in front of you or behind you. And sometimes they're pushing the door faster than you moving. You like, wait, I'm doing it. And you got to be able to still move.
Right.
Right. the last one I want to talk about, because I know we're up for our time, is talking about you versus the criminals. Those that come to take from you without the concern of how it will affect you, your family, your business, right? Whatever it is going to affect you, they come to take from you. So like we were talking about before, the family members who are just coming and asking and pulling from you. The different people that we may have had in our circles in the past. All they're doing is taking from you. At some point, this is why having those cameras in our houses have worked, and the things, because we want to protect the things that we work so hard to get, right? At least I can say the criminals at the door, they came in through the back door at 8:56, they went out through the window at 7:02, right? Whatever. Now I have a way of, in a sense, protecting and being able to see on a faster level. Now I need you to go take care of that person so they don't come back. So looking at it in a essence of the criminal that's coming to steal from you, whether that be someone you know, someone you don't know, a environment in which you're in, they're pulling from you. If they're pulling from you that much, then it's too expensive.
Right.
Right. And sometimes the people when pull things from you, you can't get it back. Right? You can't get back. If someone, for example, when my father was murdered, I can't get that back. The criminal came and took that from me, right? And I had to still say, Quita, what are you going to do? What is within your realm to control? You can control your reaction. You can control what you do, how you do. So when it comes to that, it really plays a factor.
It does, but this is where you got to acknowledge people for who they are and appreciate them for who they are, right? And once they show you who they are, just believe them. So the ones that's going to take from you, let them take. Because once they take it, now you can identify who the thief is. Once you do that, now you keep them at a distance. You can't go through your life trying to always protect yourself. Some things are just going to happen to you. And that's just life, right? Nothing happens if nothing happens, right? So once someone takes from you one time, at least for me, that's it. That's it. Like if you got me one time, that's it. And you just keep those individuals where they are. One of the biggest crooks, right? Money, right? People who borrow money. Everybody who know me, if you borrow money from me and you never pay me back, guess what? You know not to come ask me again. So sometimes I pay people not to bother me no more. Here, I'm gonna give you this money because I know you ain't gonna pay it back, and you know you not to come ask me again. Done deal. The other extremes to where it's not necessarily monetary, but just like the exchange of energy. And I'm telling you, if for you and your audience, if y'all don't notice anything else, once you accomplish something and you notice the people around you, the crooks, if they're not celebrating and smiling big and just as happy for you, they're crooks. Let them go. Like don't tell them about nothing. Don't go live on Facebook. Don't make no announcements. Don't do none of your moves in front of them. Because they just gonna steal your energy. They're crooks. So I will offer that to you and your audience. Like sometimes you know they're gonna take from you. Just set the boundaries. If you take this or if I give you this, then don't come back no more. And then if you're celebrating, you accomplish something, and it's something that you're really passionate about, something that gets you going, and you look around and that person ain't cheesing, like cheese. Okay, that's it. No more e-bites for you. No more texting that don't come around. Nothing, right? Just two simple ways to kind of manage your environment and those around you. Because yeah, those crooks, the quiet ones, the ones that's always there, the ones that's probably on your page right now, not commenting, crooks. They just here to steal your time, steal your energy, wait for you to mess up. You know, just don't block them. Remember that from earlier. Don't block them. Use them to use your energy to shine on them, and hopefully it's going to transform them, and then they're going to come back and increase your shine tenfold. Trust what I tell
Right.
you.
I believe. So with that being said, I know we are well over our time.
Yes.
Resiliency is building the capacity to focus, of your focus, your attention, your dedication to reinventing yourself, right? This is the opportunity for you to choose which way you will grow, whether you will become a weed or whether you become the grass that's greener. It is up to you on how you will grow. So that is our time. I pray that something that was said here will help you to jumpstart to your resiliency with your present and future generations that will follow. So I am so grateful to have my brother here, Dr. Gregory Smoots. Y'all make sure to give him some hand claps in the chat to say how much we appreciate him for joining. So team, make sure that you show love, add in some celebratory hand claps, whatever y'all want to do to show your appreciation, because we are going to come back in 2 weeks on the 9th of May, and we are talking about springtime pruning. So we kind of jump into a little bit. So on the 9th of May, we're talking about springtime pruning. And trust me, you don't want to miss this. This is going to be a blessing. And so I'm sure that with the amazement that is to come, I expect y'all to come back, like, share, subscribe, tell somebody else about what you heard today. Hopefully, when y'all come back on the 9th, it's going to be even more. So anyone have any questions, last minute questions around the room? No? Team, no more. Until then, same time, same place, same space with the same face. I'm your host, Quita Queen, with my brother here, Dr. Gregory Smoots. It has been a blessing. So until then, love, peace, joy, happiness. See y'all in 2 weeks. Love you. See you later.